Be the lighthouse for people and let people grow from where they are planted. That is the topic for this talk today. So let me get into what I mean by this. So, if you've been on the self-improvement journey for a while now, you will have likely naturally invited other people to be on this journey with you. And what's a trap that you can fall into, that we can fall into being on this journey of self-improvement, is that we can become attached to other people's personal development. And this really is outside of just the domain of self-improvement. We become attached needing something from people rather than just giving it to ourselves. We feel like we need this person to grow in this way such that we can feel validated. Like, for example, if I was to bring this technique to an individual and then they come back to me like, oh, that was like so useful, it changed my life, right? That's like validation. And that feels good. And that will happen if you try to help enough people. You will be able to just straight up help someone by just being able to feed them useful information. But fundamentally, when you think about people in your life that are just taking baby steps in their personal development, what they need is not just a bunch of facts or what they need is, they don't need a life purpose. They don't need a vision. What they need is to figure out how to just manage what they got already. So many people are busy just trying to unfuck their shit currently that they don't have any aspirations to even work on themselves in any advanced ways. And it's going to be very difficult to accept, because when you are in personal development, you are simultaneously unfucking your shit and trying to build skills and trying to build habits and trying to do X, Y, and Z, such that you're gonna be able to grow yourself a lot faster, right? If you just focus on trying to figure out the now without trying to construct a better future, right? You can see how that's going to be a problem. A lot of people are overwhelmed just with where they are now, and they don't see the value in having that added on, right? It just seems like extra pain, extra things to do that's also emotionally difficult, and it's like, well, why should I even do it, right? Because they don't have the vision there. We're seeing like how much it's going to help them. And we can be so frustrated with like, oh, why can't you just be this way? Like, why can't you just apply the book and not forget about, why can't you read the book? Some people can't even get that far. But like and then there's another group of people that will read the book, but they then won't even apply it, right? They'll just forget about it. And I was like, well, why the fuck did you even read the book in the first place if you're just going to forget about it? That time would have been better spent doing something else. And I feel like that's a lot of the attitude towards personal development that a lot of people have, is like, why should I do anything why should I do these things, if I'm not going to get anything out of it? It's like, yeah, you're not going to get anything out of it if you don't, put your skin in the game. But anyways, moving on. I really want to get onto this term of the lighthouse, because fundamentally, really the only way you can be a support for people is to be an example for them. So if they see you working out and they see you doing your meditation and doing your habits, and then like if they see you getting success with all these techniques, then they're gonna opened their mind up a lot to listening to you, because they actually saw it happening. Nothing is more motivating than seeing things happen. Seeing things happen right before us, right? This is why I love watching a YouTuber grow from 100 subscribers to 100,000. I've seen that, and it's very interesting to see his metamorphosis. I remember the one I'm specifically talking about is a YouTube channel named Stylish Dad, I believe. And so yeah, and he just made a sewing channel. It was awesome. And it was just interesting seeing different points where he tried to pivot, but then he chose just to persevere instead. So what does a lighthouse do? Because a lot of times we try to help people by getting so saturated in other people's lives that we get invested in other people's personal development. And rather, the superior approach, for your own mental sanity, is to not be like an ideologue that is going around trying to preach and help as many people as you can, but just by being the lighthouse, right? A lighthouse lets the boats come in, it lights the way, and then they go, right? You let people come and go in your life, and you show them the way where you can. You don't try to be the expert for them. You give them the valuable insight that you clearly have, and if they're open to it. But other than that, you do not attach yourself to the outcome of other people. Now, this is something that I have been humbled to quite a bit in my journey since 2019 of wanting to help people and wanting to be a life coach. And this really is something I learned is with any relationship. You have to think about a relationship between a life coach and a client, right? It's a much different relationship between, a father and a son, or a friend to friend. For example, traditionally, and even there is situations where this is not the case, but traditionally you could say that the relationship between a son and a father is that the son can depend on the father, right? That father takes the authority role, right? He's in the driver's seat for how to navigate in reality, right? He's the mentor. Now, some people, including myself, have found that I cannot be in that role, where it's more like with a friend, which is the friend relationship is, really just being there for them and watching them grow where they're planted. And really, that's the same relationship with a coach and client. A coach will be able, will have more of an agenda towards helping them actualize their goals, right? But at the same time, the coach will just be able to accept wherever the client is at and be able to accept how slow or fast they're going to move, how slow or fast they're going to grow. Because if I had an agenda, as in I was trying to feed my ego, oh yeah, let me see how improved I can get this person, and then I could be yeah, look at this guy, I did that, that's from me, I'm the best life coach, right? That is me putting my own horse in the race on someone else's personal development journey, when really I have to completely take that out and just be the lighthouse for them, where I can ask questions that's Like, well, how are you feeling today, and just being there for them, being that friend, being that lighthouse to create clarity for where they are right now, and then such that they can act on their own accord. Because fundamentally, you have to think about, when you try to change people, the only way you can change people is not really at all. Like, you actually can't change people. People can only change themselves. However, you can help provide the clarity that people were looking for to make the changes that they were trying to make anyways. A lot of people want to make a lot of change in their lives, but the problem is people don't have the clarity on how to do it, and they don't really have the courage and the support and the backing to actually make that happen. And so that's where like having a coach or a mentor really helps. It's offering that third perspective, it's another mind working on it. And just to help you find your blind spots of of things you don't currently see, right? And it's been really interesting, in my life, I think of how much I've had to pull back from every relationship where I can no longer really, like at certain times I can rely on them, but for many, and if not for for uh for some relationships, most of the time or all the time, I can't rely on them to fulfill my needs, right? Because when we are trying to help people, a lot of times it's actually us trying to fulfill our own needs of feeling like we are good enough, feeling like we are one that can help others, feeling, if you can help other people without setting your own house in order first, then you can delude yourself very easily into thinking that you have it all together, right? And this is, of course, the classic thing with people creating tons of results with business and then having no personal development or maybe not people skills, but like relationship skills and whatever. Kind of like spiritually bypassing in a way, neglecting the real work that needs to be done. So if you find yourself, in a place where you are frustrated with someone's personal growth, I need you to take a step back and reevaluate what the relationship is to you and what is the assumption of the relationship. Because if we need people to grow for us to feel content, to feel happy, that is a very poor place to position yourself. Fundamentally, that is putting the key of happiness into somebody else's pocket. That is putting your eggs in someone else's basket. And I can tell you, life has taught me to not do that. So rather than, because you may be like me, where you still want to change people as much as you can towards the better, right? You want to inspire people to become their best selves. You want people to learn how to have a peaceful mind, and you want to help people develop a passionate life. You want to help people develop the clarity to execute their best self, and just to make everyone happy, right? Fundamentally. And You can do that, but you have to do it as the lighthouse. The lighthouse does not go and like go to the boats, and like sits on the boat, right? You're gonna sink the boats of people, right? The lighthouse is on its own fucking piece of land, doing its thing, you know, standing strong as fuck, doing its routines, building its own success. And then when people come by, they're like, "Oh, like what's that?" That's a pretty bright person over there. And then when they come to talk to you, instead of you, you know, drilling them with like, you should do this, 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 you let them grow where they're at, right? You let people grow from where their plan is. Like, well, what's going on for you right now? How are you feeling today? And like, how did what you do today, like, how do you feel about that, right? Rather than being like, if you don't do this, if you don't do that, if you don't do that, then like, you're not going to make it, or. There's a time and place for that. If someone really is bought in and really trusts your perception to help them become a personal perform, to become really high in personal performance. But for the other 99% of the relationships that you have in life, in all domains, you just have to be content with being on your own grind, being on your own shit, and happily plugging away. And if people see what you're working on and see the results you're creating, and they ask questions, then you tell them then. But before that, don't waste your energy on trying to tell everybody what you're up to, trying to flaunt what results you already have, or flaunt, the worst thing is to flaunt the dreams you have without any actual tangible results, right? Because that's just all talk. And you actually risk developing a dream that's not actually yours. And what I mean by that is we can delude ourselves into thinking we want something because of how much positive feedback we've gotten from telling other people. You think about how if you tell a bunch of people like, yeah, I'm going to be a surgeon, I'm going to be an astronaut, I'm going to be a lawyer, right? Like something of a prestigious title. You can forget that, while you're on the journey, you're so distracted by, the positive reinforcement of telling other people that like you're this high prestigious title that you forget to self-reflect on the journey to see if this job is actually right for you. And that can be a dangerous trap. So just look out for that. Make sure that you're able to do things independently of the positive or negative opinions of others. And in fact, you could say it's easier to be remarkable in something that people actually talk down on you for. Because if people don't even have the vision, let's say like years ago when being a full-time YouTuber was like a totally foreign thing, where people don't have the vision to actually see like this, how this could work out, and you're still pursuing it and you're still grinding at it, because you want to make it work, because you want to make it happen, then that's a really authentic chasing of passion right there, right? Where people are telling you like are discouraging you from it because they themselves can't imagine themselves putting through all the fear, or they themselves don't really understand how it can be successful. So, yeah, that's about it for this talk. Just want to wrap it up, right? Don't be attached. Don't be ideological. Don't be it what helped me the most with not being ideological around personal development. Because when I first started personal development, I was very ideological around it. I was like, Atomic Habits is the best thing. If you don't apply Atomic Habits, you're total trash, you know. And while in a certain state of consciousness that can be true, I didn't understand the bigger picture, which was, you know, people are only going to grow based on their seriousness towards life, based on how ready they are, based on, you know, how interested they are, right? And basically, people are only going to grow from where they're planted. And you can't just preach to someone until they get it done. It doesn't work like that. You have to find what works for them individually by being a supportive friend for them. And in the moments that you can give them insight, you know, you give that to them. So, with that, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.